All right, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:38. Meeting of the Coventry Land Trust, regular meeting here on September 21st. I'll go with roll call. Glenn Underwood.
Here.
Dennis Green.
Here.
Jack Donovan.
Here.
Rory Carmody.
Here.
Linda Brennan.
Here.
George Frederick.
Here.
Josh Clemens here. All right, so we have a quorum. Also with us is Associate Planner, Mr. John Southern. So thank you for joining us. In our first order of business is the approval of our minutes from the August 17th, 2021 session. Are there any edits, comments, thoughts towards those meeting minutes?
17th executive session one.
No less.
This is our last general meeting from August 17th.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, 17th.
Thought they look good. I need to approve.
All right.
Second.
Motion from Rory, seconded from Linda. Roll call, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention.
I wasn't there.
From Mr. Donovan. Okay. And next up is the executive session minutes from September 2nd.
I've got a little difference of what's written down and what I said.
Okay.
I said not historical significance. I said it was diminished, and it was the interior of the building that I was referring to, because it's a dormitory.
So we'll change it from, member Donovan said that he didn't see the historical significance in the buildings to
I said it was diminished.
that stated that the historical significance of the buildings had been diminished.
Yeah,
Through
on the
age.
I was referring to the interior of the building because it was converted into dormitory. It didn't have the appearance of a classroom.
Is that something that we need to take a vote on to edit those, or we just make a motion to approve them as amended?
Make a motion to approve them as amended.
Second.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Third.
Motion from Mr. Underwood to approve as amended, unless there's any other edits to them. Seconded by Rory. All right, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
For the motion? Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions? None. All right, on to the approval of the regular session minutes of September 2nd. It's pretty short and sweet. Covering the appraisal for the one property. Any comments or changes required for these minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Underwood, seconded by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. All right. On to section 5, ongoing business. So land trust finances is the first piece. I have no updates. I don't know if anyone else has received any updates regarding finances or the latest transactions. I've not been able to connect with the town finance. All right. Any issues with reimbursement or purchases that we need to make for land trust days?
No, I just gave the receipt for the quarter John bill for reimbursement. John,
You need to follow up with Dan to see if he needs reimbursement for, I think, the paint or the stain. I'm not sure. Do you know, John?
I have not heard anything.
All right, I'll ask him if he has those to get those to you.
Okay. Hearing no other topics under land trust finances, we'll move into outreach avenues for volunteers. I haven't heard any updates or response back from the scouts that I'd engaged with. I will send another exploratory email with them. And then I'm hopeful, right, we've got a pretty significant list of names and emails from this weekend's event. We'll send out a poll to them and see if there's general interest there towards volunteering. I don't know if any other members have updates or volunteers that are interested in helping.
I think the high school, the Envirothon team, that might be a good thing to tap into.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that. I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone's actually made outreach to them.
I can, because my niece she graduated last year from Coventry High School. She was like the president of it, but I'll ask her who at the school to contact.
Okay.
Did we get any volunteers in our questionnaire at the Sullivan event? Do we know?
No,
No.
I think I got one email, which probably in line with the emails that we got for the raffle. So
Mm.
very good. I guess, yeah, Rory, if you want to email
Mhm.
your niece and see who the contact might be, I can try to make an outreach as well with was it the curriculum director, Mrs. A, at the school. I think I'd talk to her this weekend about what programs would be interested in working with us. All right. So the new item of business and what got sent out in the email was the Coventry Land Trust website page update. So the information that went out is the current web page for all of the properties that we, manage and maintain across the town. I don't know if this is like the first landing page for people when they're searching for Coventry Land Trust, but it seems to be a little dated. So if there's anyone interested in helping edit or add some character or details to these descriptions, both in terms of maybe what the properties have, historical markers or trails, structures, stone walls, whatever in them, and give people a reason to maybe want to check them out and or protect them. And I think mainly just update the information that is public facing. I was thinking maybe we could link out to the trail map that we've worked with the Rhode Island Land Trust Council to create for one of the properties, so people know, hey, this is open, this is space that we can go and visit and kind of keep it up to date.
I'm willing to help out with that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think it'd be great if we
Do
could
you want
make like
these
a nice
passed
little
out or
template.
what?
Yeah, no, that would be great. Yeah, Dennis has some other older information. I'm not sure
Okay.
when that's from, but it seems to have more properties than what was on the current webpage. So
This is what Paul kept up to date as far as from what I understand. And I just continued doing it because,
Sorry, thank you.
because I remember that process going through town hall, trying to find out what we own and didn't own.
So,
Thank you.
I'm looking at the lot. Are there
thank you.
like,
Over to our, no. Okay.
are there? I don't know, like addresses, like a regular address that goes with a lot of these. I think that's what. If we could get
I think it would
address.
depend on if the property has access on it or not, like this one or on the Mahoney properties,
Right.
it mentions a trailhead. But I guess I personally don't know where that is. I'm sure that other members might know where it is. But
Right.
I guess Cody had mentioned he's working with Parks and Rec on developing like a Google Maps of all the Parks and Rec areas.
Okay,
I think it would be worth the same effort to kind of drop a Google pin onto each of these pieces of property and then
Yeah.
have a visual representation out there for people to be able to see where the properties are. And then, but I think we could just manually do that, right, Cody, to drop a
Yeah,
pin. in a
basically the
piece.
process would be you guys make a Google map and what they call it Google Mind Maps.
Mhm.
You make an account and then you add your pins. And then once that map is done, we haven't tried this yet, but I should be able to embed that map into the page.
And then if that's something that Parks and Rec is doing, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to kind of partner with them and show other spaces in town that are open for outdoor recreation. I guess it's more a question to the land trust if we think it's worth sharing that information or sharing that webpage space with them. Well, they may not maintain a lot of parks and other trails, but. All right. So Linda, you'd like to help out maybe with some of the organization and,
well, I'll help out with the content,
okay,
the textual content. I'm not as good at, like doing a Google Map pin and things like that.
I will try my hand at Google Maps.
Okay, so I'm a text person, I'll do the text, but
I like that. Any other thoughts, comment, or feedback on that idea? An outreach through the webpage?
Makes sense. If we get some good drone footage of the trails, we can always link that on the website.
Yeah, I was thinking this could be
Yeah.
a repository
Yeah.
for some of the links out to where we have other information
Mhm.
contained. I know we've talked about YouTube videos of drone footage that I haven't been able to locate. and
Video
stuff.
right on, so you wouldn't have
Yeah.
to be away.
So that would be awesome.
Have you seen the video, the YouTube of the land trust? It's pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
kind of all scattered out there,
Yeah.
right? So how to consolidate it. I
Bring it
think
in, yeah.
this webpage would be good.
Mhm.
And then I think that segue into the next topic, right? The creation of kind of important dates, how to advertise the events that we're hoping to plan for next year. And then maybe as we get into old ongoing business, we'll talk about, how we want to prepare for those different events. But I think at the last meeting, right, we kind of consolidated around Earth Day, Arbor Day. We'll have a land trust day in the fall, a canoe day, try to do something on Stump Pond with DM. The National Hiking Day, and then I think we talked about Nathaniel Green's birthday.
Yep.
And I don't know if anyone did any outreach on any of those to try to start the ball rolling with any of the groups we'd like to partner with there. And we talked about the historical aspect of Nathaniel Green and maybe the Hope Meadows. I don't know if anyone made any outreach efforts to the Nathaniel Green Society, Historical Society or anything. I know Joyce, you had talked about the history associated with the Hope
Yeah,
Meadows.
it would be nice if we had a sign, there's no indication there. Maybe the historical group would help us with that.
That's what I'm wondering
And
if we're
Nathaniel Green.
if we're planning to do that, I guess, do we want to start, can you start a conversation with those groups to see if they'd
Right.
be willing to help partner with
Sure.
us or work with us?
And-
Yeah,
as far as Earth Day is concerned, I wrote a book about Earth Day, and I don't know whether it would be in some way beneficial for me to have a signed copy of that book as part, to raffle off as part of that day. And it's a book for young adults, but I know when my niece went to college, they were using my book as their
Oh.
textbook for one of their courses. So
Nice.
That's kind of cool. That's very
so,
cool.
okay, so it's an adult level, could be an adult level.
Yeah, no, I like that idea.
Okay,
Very good. And that's the spring one, right? So I don't think we have anything formalized now, but we should start kicking off, thinking about planning for that. And maybe we get to cast this together or figure out a location where we like to do that. I know the town usually has pretty extensive or does a lot of work around cleanup for Earth Day too. So
right.
maybe we can segue that into our Stella Hall kind of cleanup or continued cleanup in the
Right.
spring.
Yeah, so I think if we have a property that particularly needs a cleanup, that might be the best day to focus on that.
All right. And then now that we've got those dates, we picked those last month, should we, get a calendar together and start advertising them or putting them out there as long-term planning? I think we'll kind of just play it by ear as the events roll along.
I think with a website, it's fluid enough so that when we really have these dates nailed down, we can add them to the calendar. But I'm reluctant to just kind of throw them out
Yeah.
up there right now because I don't feel that those dates are firm enough and we know what we're doing for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking more of the ones where we're trying to coordinate with other groups, like we had mentioned Canoe Day with DEM at that Stump Pond, right? That would be making sure it's okay. Is there any sort of permits? I'm assuming there isn't. And then coordinating the number of people there. So, all right. Things to consider as we look forward to next year. Anything else we want to talk about on the calendar? We feel we've kind of covered those ideas, thoughts. Outreach for Nathaniel Green, Land Trust Day. I think we've got the routine points of contact. Does anyone want to take a stab at contacting DEM about the Canoe Day? I don't know if anyone works in canoeing and or the water aspect there.
Yeah, that in one of our books too, it said soon to be, but it exists already in updates. You know, the canoe access
Yeah.
by them.
So what are we exactly contacting DEM for?
Just seeing if they're trying to coordinate something for that same day and how we could help host or coordinate or
Okay.
plan,
Yeah.
advertise locally.
So do you, basically you want somebody to ask, do you have plans for Canoe Day?
Sure. And if-
And can we coordinate with you?
Well, I
We
think,
do.
and in partnership, right, I think we got a lot of really good advertising and outreach through the partnership with the Rhode Island Land Trust Council, like advertising the day and creating the meetup event. So if it's something that we'd like to pursue, I think the DEM could help, advertise and get the message out there for us as well.
Candace would like to coordinate too, you're saying? Candace,
I'm saying she helped us and that group helped us a lot for Land Trust Day. So
Right.
if we want to do something with DEM, be good to kind of start early.
Right.
Okay. Is there, I'm willing to make the contact, but I want to make sure I know what what I'm saying, what I'm supposed to be saying. So if and is it allergies. Is there any particular person to contact?
That's what I don't know. That's it. As we go through each of these kind of tasks or ideas, right? Like it's kind of figuring out the pieces before we kick off the event. Like who is it we need to contact?
I
And there's just like some
could
preliminary.
probably
work to
contact
do.
DM. We have some contact with them through the Governor's Commission on Disabilities around access. So
Okay.
I would have a name that I could get through the commission
Okay.
and talk to them
All
about
right.
that.
Yeah, and like I said, I would just be wildly searching through the DM webpage too,
Right,
like who
yeah,
the
it'd be
canoeing
easiest, like
contact
Dr.
is.
Bob will give me a name.
But there's definitely a couple outreach specialists that I
Yep.
know that have.
And when is Canoe Day? I should know that.
I
have
don't
it in
remember.
the
I think
calendar.
it was like
I have it on
I
the
think it was like
calendar
a
somewhere.
summer day though.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think
like
so, too.
June, July. It'd be like the spring ones were Earth Day, Arbor Day, and then Canoe Day, National Hike Day was kind of midsummer.
Okay,
Land Trust Nathaniel Green was more like fall, I believe.
okay.
And then I guess as we go through and kind of evaluate each of these ideas in days, like if it becomes overwhelming or too much stuff, we can probably drop it or whatnot. So I'd like to figure out what it would take early on. John,
The land trust days, would that be the Stella Hall property?
I think that's what we were talking about before, Stella Hall, yeah.
That with the canoe, if they could be maybe combined because of proximity, it's
Yeah.
right across the pond from it. They may
Hmm.
complement each other.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would be nice to kind of link the two. I don't know if because land trust days usually fall, and like I said, I don't remember when the canoe day was, but that's definitely an idea we can keep in mind. Can have all the canoes invade Stella Hall and then go for a hike, one if by land, two if by sea. Then we'll be tying it in Nathaniel Green and Revolutionary War again.
Well,
so.
just get bicycles and we have a triathlon.
There you go. I thought about that too. How do we host a triathlon out here? And Nice runs cross country. I was like, let's get out there. All right. So you're gonna work on a contact for DM.
yep.
John, do you have any contacts with like canoe organizations or?
The person that I knew at DEM retired.
Oh, okay. Bummer.
Is there a paddlers club in Rhode Island?
There's a kayak club associate. That's kind of like a canoe.
Hmm.
Right? So there might be a connection there.
Mhm.
And some
Well,
of those outfitters who sell canoes and kayaks, they might want to be involved.
Yeah.
mhm.
there were quite a few kayakers
Yeah.
at the Sullivan
Okay.
event. They were interested. They were very excited about the idea of, the linking
Yeah.
with Stella Hall
Mhm.
and the Greenway.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. My daughter has a few kayaks, like maybe 6.
Oh, wow.
With her family. She would probably offer to help.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll ask her.
No,
about
there's a ton of
that.
people on Johnson's Pond that have them as well. So
Yeah,
very good. All right, I think that kind of covers what I want to talk about there with the calendar. We've created it, and now it's kind of, maintaining the momentum and planning for next year. At least thinking and starting some of those ideas. Maybe your potential properties of interest. I don't know if anything new has come up because we had a new business one down there. I don't know if we want to just table this and go into new business. kind of keep knocking through them.
Just
Mhm.
knocking through, and we'll get to it.
So I'll leave off potential properties of interest. I don't have anything unless anyone else has another property they're looking at.
Nope.
Got a lot out there. And then grant opportunities, I don't have any new updates on any grant opportunities that I've located or found. I know in the fall is when the natural, what do I say, the Wild Plant Society usually puts something out for installations of gardens, so I'll keep an eye out for that one and then try to link up for our Meadow discussions at the Sullivan property. All right. Anything else we want to cover under ongoing business? I think we've hit all the points. All right. We'll go to old business, property updates discussion, starting with our, I won't say closeout, but pretty successful event on Saturday at the Janice L. Sullivan area.
Mhm.
And then I guess I'll open it up for conversation or thoughts if anyone wants to add something on Saturday's event. I thought it went really well. I don't know what the final count was. We didn't get like an official tabulation, but it seemed like 50 to 60 people
Oh,
there,
yeah, easy.
tons of cars. We filled up all the streets.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any complaints on parking.
No.
And then in general, everyone had an awesome time. We had, seemed like set up 2 different hikes, kind of 3 different groups of people, short hike, long hike, and then hanging around the parking area, but looked great. A lot of great work. So thank you everyone for putting it all together and pulling it all together. It turned out to be awesome day despite the early.
Double thanks to Rory. He did fantastic
Oh,
work.
yes,
Getting the
and
sign
Gabe,
for us, and
Yes.
you're a real anchor on getting that done. That's
No,
fantastic.
absolutely. I think the family was really happy too.
Yes.
Which was really nice. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So it was good synergy of events for everyone.
And Dennis
It
took
was
the
really
sign home to keep it safe until we
Yeah.
can get it in the car.
Yeah, that's what I think we'll get to, right? So we can,
Yeah.
we'll cross a couple things off, right? We have the name change approved, so that can come off. Press release, maybe we shift to like a post-event press release. Kendra Gravel from the Kent County Times or whatnot, Daily Times, had said she was gonna be there on Saturday. I didn't see her. I don't know if anyone else saw her there. So I might have to email her and just try to get an article.
Because we've got some pictures from there too, like the one with the sign, there's
Awesome.
some that we can send.
I might solicit you for a couple
Yeah,
of the pictures.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I figure, I know Candace from the Land Trust Council sent me a bunch of pictures that I haven't
good.
gone through as well, to see what's out there. The letter to the neighbors, I think went really well. There's probably 5 or 6 different people from the neighborhood that showed up that said they heard about it through the letter, so they were really pumped and excited. A lot of them were grateful for the acquisition, protection of the property. A lot of them were, had questions like, oh, we didn't know what was going on with this. We didn't know what happened. So it was nice to get the letter. So,
Good.
great work on that, Glenn. I think you helped draft that and get that in motion. So nice work. Sign update, it's over at Dennis's house. I
Yeah.
don't know if we have a date or we want to plan a date for installation of that and get it out of Dennis's house unless we're paying rental fees.
Dan said he would help with the installation. I think Janice Sullivan's son-in-law said he would also help.
Correct, right.
So which is really nice, because the posts need to go down at least 3 feet.
Mhm.
Wow.
Because it's an 11-foot sign, so they need an auger to be able to do that. But I think he said he had one. So he was,
The son-in-law. has
yeah,
one.
has one. So we're gonna figure that out.
Okay.
So you'll coordinate a date. so to
I'll
speak?
talk to Dan, see if what's his availability. I'm assuming it'll probably be on a weekend. Just, because they all work. And I believe Dan got his number. So that'll probably be the best way to go.
Okay. Yeah, keep us in the loop and we can help with
Okay.
manpower resources. My Saturday mornings are a little constricted with youth activities, but Saturday afternoons or Sunday mornings
Okay.
could be good.
All right.
Personally.
Yep.
Or if we need to rally other volunteers, that might be worth sending something out in the thank you kind of follow-up email.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
okay, we still have planned to install the
Mhm.
sign. Might take a couple hands if people are interested in helping out.
Okay.
Sure, we could get it. Just need to coordinate a time and date.
This date.
You're not here or,
I'm not gonna be here.
okay, so the 9th is not a good day. Okay, so I'll say no, 10-9. Hopefully we'll get it in. Okay,
So this month.
okay.
Oh,
And it's Sunday good for you too?
maybe, yeah, Sunday I can do.
Okay. All right.
But after that, things get kind of.
All right. So I'll try to get it, we'll get it before the 3rd.
Okay.
Okay.
So. Okay,
What's
I
up,
was
Lindsay?
just looking at the next task, so.
Oh, the task, go ahead.
The creation of the meadow. So I did email the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, and I also emailed URI and to see if they had any information for me on creating on Meadow. I haven't heard back from either of them.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if maybe a phone call might be a more active way to get in touch with them than an email. So I might go that route next. And I also talked to the person from the land trust. What was her name?
Candace.
Candace,
Yep.
yes. I asked her too if they had any, information. She said they didn't, but that they might be able to point us in the direction of some information.
Okay.
So I tried to do that. From the reading I've done so far, it looks more like, you just have to, you don't want to disturb the area too much. You want to just kind of choose flower seeds, wildflower seeds that are native to this region and are suitable for, that particular kind of habitat. For instance, you'd want upland plants rather than wetland plants. And then just go ahead and broadcast sow them, and then just kind of maintain a mowing schedule so that and I'm not even sure if you have to mow it every year. So, there's details I need more information about, but you can't just let it go or it'll return to woodland. But you do.
Sure,
have
there's
to
a management aspect to it.
Yeah, but then the other thing is you don't want to mow it at certain times of the year because you don't want to mow it when the birds are nesting,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. So I'll see what else I can find out.
Okay, good. Yeah, I know the URI, I want to say their outreach community, I can't think of the name of the organization, but they have a pretty extensive, native plant guideline, selection guideline when you're working on like your own
Yeah,
garden, but maybe not a lot of, they have a lot of tips of establishing meadows, but it's based more towards homeowners, right? Like how to get rid of your lawn and turn
Right.
it into a meadow versus
right.
maybe what we're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Mhm.
I thought it looked great just on Saturday, right? The native
Yeah.
flowers or whatever has kind of come in
Yeah.
there. A lot
So
of
what I
bone
saw,
set and some other
yeah, I
things.
saw Sweet Everlasting, I saw Goldenrod, I saw, what else did I see? I saw some asters, so we have some there. But we, if we're particularly like looking for, like pollinator plants and things like that, we could even, just broadcast milkweed seeds and things
Yeah.
like that, so,
Mhm.
but. Okay.
Very
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for looking into that
Okay.
and trying the outreach with URI and Audubon. Surprised you haven't gotten a response from those guys. Although I have also tried outreach to Audubon with respect to kind of coordinating on the properties that are near ours and haven't had much success either. So
No, it might be.
time to make a phone call.
Yeah,
I did see that they recommend, at least one person recommended cutting the meadow in spring because little creatures can overwinter. They can squeeze into the stems of plants and the seeds should be left down and everything. So when the temperature is consistently 60, 50
Mhm.
in the spring, that is the time to cut because by then they've all
yeah,
escaped.
but you want to make sure that you're not, it's dicey because you don't want to have birds already nesting, the
Right.
meadow. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you want to do it before. So there's
Yeah, there's
very-
nesting season, there's bug season, there's a lot of.
Yeah,
there's a
they
lot
have
to consider.
overwintering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be mowing it annually, so.
Right.
Give it a little bit. Awesome. So we've got the sign to complete there and then, kind of continued visioning and work towards the meadow. again, Land Trust Day, I think was a great success. I need some thank you notes. I don't know if we want any more formalized thank you notes we need to send out. Glenn, any other town reps or anything that we need to cover? I think we've hit them all. All right. Good deal. Unless you got anything else to talk about with the Janice L. Sullivan area, we'll move into the next one. 6-2, our Grassett property. So we're working on acquisition and talk to the town council. So I believe where we last left this was we had reviewed with the town council and we were pending appraisals to return to the town council with on what the adequate or appropriate cost would be. So if we have updates on
Yeah.
appraisal status.
Yeah, so I've reached out to a couple of different people, kind of the same pool that I was last time. It's a little easier this time because there's a bit of a relationship with them now. So I don't have an update as far as who's gotten back to me yet, but I'm in the process of working that out.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, so as I recall, and we'll just kind of review here. So the next step is get the couple appraisals, go to the town council within an agreed upon number, right? We probably need an executive session to get that agreed upon number once the appraisal is complete. And then the town council would have to approve our desire to move forward with the acquisition, if I understand it correctly.
That's my
Sounds right.
understanding.
Okay. And then I guess next one, 6-3, the Leah Kavanaugh property. Dennis, I know you had forwarded an email from Leah. She's continuing to look for updates. I don't know if we have updates there for
I
the.
sent you an email
Yeah.
from John.
Yes, so I didn't get a chance to get back to her yet, but I will in the morning provide her with an update. We last month we were waiting for one more. I did receive all the different appraisals and I'm working with the schedule on that, and I'll provide her with that update as soon as I get a chance tomorrow. So we're moving forward on that as well.
Awesome.
So
So
your
you-
court.
Go ahead, Dennis.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so you received kind of three bids,
Yeah.
estimates,
Yeah.
pick the lowest bidder, and then now working on scheduling that bidder to go out and
Okay.
actually do the work. Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Dennis, did that ask your question?
I did.
All right, that's great. That's good. Please, thank you for updating Leah as well, keeping her in the loop on that. Appreciate that. And then our next one up is 6-4, so the Camp Green property, where we met, last in executive session in public session to kind of talk about. I had reached out to the town manager and the council from the town regarding the acquisition and kind of the challenges around removing the buildings. And the response that I got back was that the land trust, they don't see an issue with the land trust paying for the demolition as part of the acquisition. So I think that helps answer at least one part, that it can be part of the acquisition price. But I think I need to reach back out to ask how to structure kind of the legal acquisition agreement to ensure that, right? And get the timing right. Unless there's something that I'm missing there or any questions on that.
No, I think the last thing was that they wanted to make sure what we wanted to have removed from the property, or the town wanted to have removed from the property. And since then, Linda and I took Linda out, and the concrete floor that's underneath what was the tabernacle is a lot thinner concrete than I thought it was. It's all cracking and not worth salvaging. I think, my personal opinion is that everything
Everything
be
needs to go.
removed. There's nothing that we want to save there. So I think that was the one thing they needed to have verified on their behalf, because they need to get a final number. If we're telling them to dig up the concrete, that's an added cost or a part of the cost. And the rest of the stuff, all, in my opinion, there shouldn't be, we don't want to deal with any mess over there.
Yeah.
How about the
Agreed.
cookhouse, the cement slab? That's the one I come up to.
That should go to.
That's an option we had open to discuss. So that's resolved.
Yeah.
That goes back years.
I think once they start demoing the building
It'll
itself,
come up easy.
oh yeah, And I think at that point, if we use one of that area as like parking, because it'll already be
Mhm.
cleared
Yeah, it's good
for
access.
us, good access, and the road sort of loops around that.
Mhm. It's already made.
It's already made.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what we,
It's leveled, you know,
Yeah.
because the building's been on it, so.
that was an option also, on the right up the target I gave
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think, you know, that we need to get to Bill Bell and Reverend Turgey, that, you know, the cleanup would be everything. We
Yep.
don't want anything left. We did look at the foundation underneath the school building and saw what you saw, that the cement
Correct.
is done. Yeah, it's a shame that that's already deteriorating, but there's nothing to save there.
Now, what about the well and
They'd be filled, and,
Okay.
you know, anything needs to be pulled out of the ground, any electrical component or whatever.
And most of that, or that's already part of kind of what we discussed.
Yeah.
It's just the concrete would be a new aspect.
Yeah, I think we just, you know, have to tell them that there's nothing, we don't want any residual components of any of the buildings or any of the plumbing. The well should be, the
Right.
pump pulled and filled.
everything out.
Yeah,
Option,
in my outreach, sorry, Dennis, but in my outreach to the town, and I asked if the planning department or anyone needed to come and inspect the property or confirm anything, and they said they did not need that, or they did not desire to go out and look at the property.
No, I think we've made it a lot easier if we don't want anything left. So there's nothing
Yeah.
left for them to be
Okay.
worried about, that
Yeah.
it's gonna be clean. So we gotta get that back to Bill Bell, and then again, this goes into the next thing that we know, we're gonna need an appraisal to back us up on.
And that's what we had talked about previously, was getting an appraisal. We voted to get an appraisal on that. So I don't know if there's any progress or updates
So
on
yeah,
that one as well.
I wasn't gonna skip ahead, but that goes hand in hand.
Okay.
While I'm talking to people about Grassett,
Perfect.
I have them on the phone. So
Awesome. Thank you. Good, simple.
it's all happening.
Good deal. Dennis, sorry, I stepped
No, no,
over
no.
you. I don't know if
this
you have a
is
question.
the final decision, and when you and I did that analysis, and
Mhm.
we had, the option was to keep the cement, but everything else should go. Now that's out, and
Yeah.
it's bare bones.
No, and I think I like the idea of keeping the cement to make a kiosk or something in the future, but if it's in a poor
But no,
state,
it's
then it's
not.
not really valuable.
It was
Right,
cracking then, but it was an option.
Yeah.
But
all right.
The town council did recently do the demolition near on Washington Street,
Mhm.
that enormous historical building.
Byron rebuilding.
And at this point, this is still a historical site, so they might be more attuned to demolition there. I
Well,
don't
that-
know
and
how
that
they
was the
could be
questions that we-
involved in it.
Some of the things that we discussed is whether there's historical significance or not, and I think we all came to the
Diminished.
agreement that there's pretty limited historical aspects.
Yes.
Someone had mentioned, and I don't remember if it was you, Rory, or maybe it was you, Joyce, on, salvaging some of the wood.
That was,
And I know from that demolition of the Byron, I think it's Byron rebuilding, right? There are some, complaints or challenges out there in the community, like, oh, we could have gone and saved some of the historical artifacts before it just got demoed and discarded. Doesn't sound like there's much in terms of historical artifacts, but maybe an opportunity to salvage.
if
some
I
of
add
those.
something, we did bring them out on our first site walk.
Mhm.
Okay,
They looked at the buildings. And somehow or another, the grapevine told me that they were not interested.
okay,
I never got anything in writing and official, only time what I heard from the grapevine. They came out.
who's they there in the
Norma
town
Smith.
council?
Yeah.
Or-
Norma Smith and.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I forgot, there was two people, but I
Yeah,
forgot. who they
Norma's
were.
was the lead one.
Thought
She
it was
took
two.
pictures, did she?
Yeah, she did, yeah.
She took some pictures and stuff.
okay,
I mean, she's the lead contact. She'll be also lead contact for Nathaniel Green. She's doing some work. I know she's doing some work up there too, so.
okay.
But yeah, again, I think we all understand the liabilities and it's very difficult. So our mission as our group is to preserve the land
Yep.
if we can. And then if others want to save a board or whatever, we can give that opportunity, but obviously there's going to be a very limited window when the contractor is demoing that they could do anything, because they're going to want to go quick. They're not going to want to,
Yep.
spend money on going slow to take salvage a piece or two, so. And, you know, I don't think any individual should undertake any trying to remove anything there. It's just unsafe at
Yeah.
this point.
Agreed.
Yeah. It's got to be professionally done.
Mhm.
Very good. Makes sense. So we're pending appraisals on all of our open items there
Yeah, I
under
think
old
what
business.
we want to make sure that Bill Bell, Reverend Turgey know that we're going to line up an appraisal of the property. That's our next step. So they grant, you know, you have an email, you know, with them granting us permission to have the appraiser go on the property when it comes that time that we're working. That's a key step, but we just want to have it all. And then they get notified, like they want it to be notified that there's somebody around or whatever. Yeah.
I guess it's in the loop on the appraisal status. All right, on the new business, I think you added this, Glenn.
Yeah, this is new old business.
New old business.
Because some of us have already walked this particular property. This is owned by Capuano Realty. It's an well, it depends what document that you look at, town GIS, or it says 107 acres. I think, Dennis, we had one thing that said
94.
94
and then He
acres, so-
says 82 or 84.
and he says, that, yeah, so there's been a variety. So this lot is would be south of the Washington Oaks Elementary School.
Yeah.
It's a fairly pristine piece of property that doesn't look like there has been any activity other than an ATV
Mm.
trail. No houses. It may have been farmland years ago, but it's all grown in, pretty natural, with a wetland that sort of runs down the middle of it. We did trudge through some of the wetlands. This year would have been very difficult with all the water to cross. But so I received a call from the owner wondering why he hadn't heard from us. And as I convinced myself with Dennis by checking with him, the last we heard, his wife wasn't willing to sell. So it's sort of, that was why we never
Telephone game.
pursued it any further. So just to bring, because I don't think Linda was involved at that point, or
No.
yourself, we also did outreach to Craig Levis, superintendent of schools, to tell him that we were looking at this property because the current access to the property town-wise would be having to be through the school. It's landlocked.
Yeah.
There's a house that Capuano Realty owns that we, talked about getting a right of way through, and then we stopped and we looked at it, and it's just like, no, there's no way to go through this property.
Brown
there.
house.
Yeah,
Right.
the house is in the way, and it wouldn't be an access point. So it's basically the way that we looked at it was a landlocked piece, but he's interested again in putting it, back in front of us. And I think what we need to do for Linda and yourself is probably take a walk on it, and anyone else, we can reschedule a walk, because it's been
Yeah.
couple
it's
years.
been a while, yeah.
So we're going to do from
Wear your
scratch over.
hiking boots.
Yeah,
I don't know
absolutely.
whether we all
No
have to do it from
trails,
scratch
it's
over,
just brush.
but
Beautiful, though.
A
it's a
100
whole new-
acres.
We've got, no, wear boots.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good winter expedition as well, right? When the
Yeah,
the
I would
undergrowth is
say
down.
that we went when it was very lush,
Mm.
and a lot of, I'd be interested doing it when some of the foliage is down, just to get the perspective of the views and things. So I'd be interested in scheduling a walk towards the end of October or something, as fall, that's the leaves coming down and things may be hopefully a little bit drier. But so I told him, well, I'll put this back in front of the land trust to see, and I do believe with new members, we should schedule another walk and start like day one on it
Yeah.
again, because it's been so long.
Does that probably link up to Mahoney and to Audubon?
No,
No.
No.
Yeah, I have to look at the plan map to see what it's near.
yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with
can
the
we
area of
jump a
Washington
screen
Oak.
on this too. Well,
There are a few town-owned properties in the nearby.
nearby,
vicinity.
there's some pieces that this sort of works to get in a potential area for adding, because there's a couple other pieces that are sort of landlocked and
2 or
small.
3.
Yeah. So Cody will bring up the GIS to refresh everybody about this particular lot.
We have great technical support.
Yeah.
Everyone's ready to jump in.
So the school property is this one right here. So the entrance here is school, and this is this big block in the
There it
middle.
is. Yeah.
And these are all house lots,
Oh, right, yeah.
you know, that are. And I think, oops, I'm sorry.
There's no way from the quarry to get in there, right?
Pardon me?
There's no way from
Well-
that quarry to get in there, because I always thought that was an access road to the school.
So. the
Well, we
quarry-
would have to work with the school and then,
Right.
you know.
This is a
people
separate
coming
owner
in.
over here.
Right,
But the biggest thing, you know, to do for developer, they got this wetland that would be
Yeah,
almost
there's water.
impossible
right.
to do anything. But anybody that's abutting, any of these people, you know, would, if they bought the lot, would have access to their property.
Right,
He also owns, I believe it was this
That lot
one.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those up
Right,
near
and
the
there's a
top.
house on it that's
Right.
right on the road. Yeah, I think it's one. I think it's this one, the next one up.
Kept that one right there. Yep.
Yeah.
What are the ones abutting it, I guess, on that western end?
This,
So there are other private owners.
Yeah,
oh, see, that's a Coventry one.
Town of Coventry.
And I think
in
the
with
Coventry has
Greenlight
one other.
Farm and
Mhm.
the airfield and Town Farm Road and.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was
Yeah.
one other lot in the area that was.
Mm.
So our concern was being right behind the school, obviously, and if that was an access, security, school security,
Right.
school, you know, access, so it was a lot of why we wanted Craig to comment on it, and town council and town school committee and anybody involved if we were to pursue this. And that's where, right about where we left it, was right after that, we was taken off the table because we heard that his wife, or he told us his wife. wasn't-
We did offer him some money. He turned it down,
Yeah,
160.
Yeah.
He said his wife wants more.
Yeah.
The conversation that I
yeah, she
had.
wasn't interested. So again, that's,
No, I mean, I think it could be viewed as say a detriment or liability, the access issue with the school, but it could also be a benefit, right? To have that open space and, you know, some trail network there close for the kids to go and do some external
Yeah.
learning classes, whatnot. So
It could be an outdoor classroom.
And that
kind of.
area is high up by Reed,
Right.
Schoolhouse Road, so there are some beautiful views off.
Yeah.
You know, Earhart Electric, if you've ever been to their site off Reed Schoolhouse, looks way out onto like the Connecticut mountains, it seems, you know.
The
it's-
view where his facility is in the back of the house is pretty
Yes.
substantial.
nice.
so
Something
anyways,
great to
I
go
think
look
the-
at and start
yeah, I think
working
the
on.
It's a
thing
nice
is to
piece.
set up another walk, set a date and do a walk. And proceed from there. Obviously, you know, being the landlocked situation that it is, it's not like he's has a ready buyer, but he's interested in, you know, and we're a viable entity, but I think, as Dennis said, we were talking, and I think that was based on skinny appraisal numbers and that it was landlocked and.
They're 160 to 185. So we want the low.
And it wasn't a formal offer, and again, we
Right.
haven't had it appraised, so now that we know that the council's gonna want appraisal, there's a
Yeah.
lot more to this than. I think on the current tax roll, it's 187 as the tax assessor, but obviously that's sort of in the line where we were looking at before. But if we're willing, then I think we can.
Bottom line, he wants a second offer. He wants us to offer him more.
Yeah.
His wife wants us to.
Well, everybody always likes that.
Oh, no, I'm just saying.
But the thing is that, there's two things before we spend money on an appraisal, and, I do believe that he's looking to think that it's worth not,
His appraiser came in at 215. I just looked at it.
yeah.
Oh,
So he's,
But I mean, it's not worth 215.
but we're not that far off. What about
but
60?
before we, and I told him this, before we spend money, just having every piece of property appraised in the town of Coventry, we've got to know that it's a legitimate, just like we did with Camp Green, that we think the numbers are okay. The same thing with Grasset property, that we think we're the same thing here. We don't want to go spend $1,500 on an appraisal if the guy has a number in his head that we're not going to get to.
So you're saying we should continue with the range concept at least.
At least before we authorize an appraisal.
Okay.
I think we've got to come in doing our best work too, like we have done, and we've been very good at that. So I think we do the site walk. I can reach out to them, schedule. If anyone wants to pick a date, we'll have a new site walk.
I just looked at the scoring sheet. I'm all set.
Yeah, you might not have to, it's more for people that haven't walked it. I'd walk it again just for the forum, so.
There could be changes in there
Yeah.
for all we know.
Well,
That's all right.
I'd like to do it in
Doubt
a
it,
different
though.
season.
It's brush and thick and
There's
rocky,
there's some thick brush through there. But
no path.
yeah, it's pretty natural.
So are you looking at a weekend date or a?
Yeah, I usually like to do Sunday, for me, I always like to do Sunday mornings.
How's 17th sound? October 17th? I think that's too late, early, good.
Right
Just
now,
picking a mid-October date.
Yeah, I was gonna go later
Okay.
for me. I could be cranberry harvesting and
Okay,
anytime until November, so I'm looking, for me personally, it'd be the first Sunday in November.
November 7th.
That's
Daylight
Daylight
savings
savings
time
time
ends,
ends,
so
yeah.
we'll have to
We
set
went
the
from
clocks an
October
extra
to-
hour early.
We went to
Okay.
November 7th.
I think that works.
That works.
okay,
We'll
9 AM.
Pull
9 a.m.
back, we gain an hour.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, there you go, yeah, it's
So,
fall back, you're
Roll
right.
back. November 7th, 9 AM.
Yep.
That time of year, you may want to wear an orange vest.
Definitely want
Yep,
to wear orange in the
absolutely.
woods.
Mhm.
So we're on November 7th. That's a Sunday.
That's a Sunday, 9
What
AM.
time?
Yeah,
9 a.m.
that sounds good.
Meet at the
9
school
a.m.
parking lot again.
Okay.
At the,
Yep,
And wear orange.
and bring orange for sure. Especially seeing where you are in that area.
Mhm.
It's,
Well, didn't we see a few deer
We
stands last
saw,
time?
yeah, we saw some activity that tells you that. All right, so I'll reach out to them. Tell them that since we have new members, we need to redo a site walk. And from there, we can proceed. All right, that's all I have for that.
that's awesome, thank you. We got 3 waiting appraisals and then 1 out to walk, so that's pretty good. Keep us busy. All right, we'll go into 8, our ongoing property management. We can talk about drones. Under 8.1.
Yep. Did everyone have a chance to meet Mark? Fisher. He seems like a really decent fellow, the drone
Oh,
operator.
he was so
Um,
much fun.
He was, and he got a lot of good video footage to put together like a proposal of what it's gonna look like. He's licensed as, the town requires. He's high end. I mean, he works for Netflix, NFL, so he knows his stuff and he has access to those types of drones that can really get good photos. So we're gonna circle back. He's gonna put something together and then we're gonna kind of present it to the committee and then we'll have to present it, I imagine, to the town, because I'm assuming they'd want to contract with him in some way. So. But he had a good time, which was really nice. So he stayed longer than he thought he was going because he had a wedding that day, but he really had a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
right.
Good. Glad you had fun. It was awesome to see him there and his little,
Yeah,
all of his fun tools of the trade.
I know,
Those were wild, weren't they?
I know.
And then you talked about a contract. I guess, is that something that we would want to entertain, like building a contract with him for future events or future?
I guess
footage?
so, like, I don't know
Yeah.
how, he works with businesses, they retain him on contract, like for Netflix and things like that, when a movie's being filmed and they need B-roll,
Mhm.
they will contract with him and call him up, tell him this is what they want. So that's what he said that even with the footage he got with us, he has B-roll of like animals and plants and things he can drop in that are appropriate, so to really round it out, so I think it's just gonna be a conversation on how we go.
Awesome. That was great to meet. Looking forward to seeing what the video looks like.
Yeah.
And I know you gotta send me the link.
Well,
to
I'm wondering if we
existing video.
Can we do the YouTube video that we did before for the land trust for people to see who haven't seen it before?
What would you like to do with it
Just show it. It's on YouTube.
right now?
Yeah,
How long is it?
like I think 2 minutes of that.
Okay.
And this was done by, not by Mark, this was done by Kevin LaRose, who lives in Coventry. And then he linked me with Mark Fisher, who's the professional dronist, I don't recall it, but if you just look under Coventry Land Trust,
Pilot? Drone pilot?
drone pilot, that's probably it. We'll go down. There, draft it, that's it right there.
Okay.
It's 2 minutes. And I thought this was really good, and his is gonna be even that much better. Oh, the sound's not on. But anyway, there's nice music he plays with this, and then it's just the bike path. And then the marks on the trail. This is up on Ledge Road. Beautiful, isn't it, like what we've got?
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
You'll have to check it on home. You can hear the music. That's the bike path.
Windmills out there.
Yep. And this is actually if you were walking through. It was pretty lush that day. And it's not that choppy when it's on. Can you see it? Yeah. That might be it. No, it's buffering. Oh, it's buffering, yeah.
No, it seems pretty cool though. It'd be
Yeah, so
nice to-
it'd be nice to have that
put
for
up
each
there.
of the things, and I think it's a way to encourage certainly the kids to be involved in it too, if you can expand that to other things with
Yeah.
technology, geocaching, or whatever.
Awesome. I will have to watch that. So I've been trying to figure out how to find it. But
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. So we talked about drones. We'll figure out, we'll see, I guess, next meeting, what he puts together, maybe
Yep.
just share if he's able to put something together for the next meeting. All right, next up, we've got boundary markers and then sign status. So we have the boundary markers. I think we just need to do the same thing, kind of organize the day to go out and maybe
Yeah, I
pick a
think we said
property
this
and then
fall,
start.
once the brush and leaves are, we'll start with the Bowden along Festival Trail and
Okay.
get that and that will also give us some visibility for the people that are hiking along Trestle Trail, knowing that, that they're up against a land trust property there. So
That was actually a question that came up when we got to the bike path on the extended hike. Right, the property on the other side of the bike path is the Nayland Conservation Area, correct?
yeah,
Right, and I don't know if there's an established or marked trail that we have there or nothing
we
yet.
have not
Okay.
created anything in that. No.
But that would be good to mark that as also, hey, this is also a land trust property. Okay. So TBD or we'll keep
Yeah, I
that out
think
for
as
the
soon
winter.
as probably after the next meeting, we'll know when the foliage is off and then schedule. We'll do I think our goal was to do the easy stuff first, where we knew where the boundaries were, so we weren't challenged.
Mhm.
And then when we have to find corners or other things, if we can't find the marker in the survey, some of it has bounds that are there on some of the properties, but other than that, we'll have to be careful as for what we're doing. But we wanted to get the visibility areas, especially along Trestle Trail and any road frontage. So people that are walking along the road or whatever know that, or can see it, to start with that.
With the GIS kind of mapping software that we got in the land trust properties that are now online there through the Land Trust Council. I think that could make that a little bit easier, kind of finding the corners in the properties.
Well, the deeds are the only thing. Town GIS off the assessors map is not quite, it's close.
Yeah.
It gives us a reference point, but when we get it, if we can find on all the deeds, if there is a mark, some of them weren't surveyed, some were. So on the ones where there's survey and we can find a bound, we had talked to Sam Swazer a little bit there about possibility of helping out with stuff and reading things. And so when we get to a scope area where we could use some expertise, I think he would be willing to help us.
But he's not at the same place anymore, is he? I thought he moved.
He was moving. I don't know whether
Yeah,
Oh.
he moved to Massachusetts, but he still has business.
business
Oh,
here.
he still does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, that would be something that if we had a questionable area or whatever, and then we need someone to read and help, that's why I want to do the easy stuff first, to get that. Then the hard stuff we'll have to reach out for professional.
Yeah, and I think the other, so from the Land Trust Council, we can get like a specific GPS position or something that shows pretty true to where you are.
Yeah, well, if we can find any of the bounds, then you can mark it
Yeah.
with the GPS, right on the dot, so we know where it is. And
Wouldn't the town have that? No, the town wouldn't
the
have
deeds,
this.
so the deed,
survey.
if it was surveyed,
Yeah,
and if it was a recorded survey, it's with the deed, it matches up, we'll be able to, not all surveys ever get,
Mhm.
fully. Part of this stuff was, I'm hoping that we had a Class A on Heritage, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know whether, remember we were walking around trying to find marks and stuff, and we did find a couple of mounds. And then we weren't sure which property when we were doing that last walk. So there's a lot of work to be done in the woods to make sure you're reading your deeds and everything right. And then, as Josh says, if we can mark it GPS wise, then it's always easy to go back and find it. And then it helps us when we're mapping that we have coordinates so we don't lose it.
Yeah, we found what, 2 monuments?
Yeah, we found a couple on that. Yeah, but we haven't, again, we need to see what else we can find on any of these properties that are listed in the deed as for monumentation.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens over the years, it disappears in the ground. If they, sometimes a surveyor, if you don't pay the money, they just put a stake. If you pay for old granite bound, those, but on some of these things, it's a pile of stones. And Sam's was pretty good about finding those types of things. Some have an iron rod, so you have to read the deed, and then if it's an iron rod, then we can take a metal detector and try and find it.
Yeah.
hmm.
Well, I can make outreach to the Land Trust Council, get their GPS unit, and then that will help us it allows for more precise locating
Yeah,
of things than mapping.
Narrows it down, yeah.
We
really
can
tight.
upload it to the map that they helped create. And then maybe that's something we could talk to Patan about, how to kind of consolidate or coordinate the two different mapping technologies that we're using.
Yep.
Plat map, whatnot. Awesome. But that's out later, November, then it sounds like, for that kind of work date. And then the other item for update was kiosks. Got 2 kiosks now at Janet's L. Sullivan. I put a tentative trail map in there of the Sullivan area and kind of the surrounding regions. I'm still working with the Land Trust Council, but waiting for Eric's replacement to come in to get kicking off on making a map that kind of matches the quality and style of the Bowden one that you built there, Dennis. So that's in progress for updating those kiosks. And then we still have materials for kiosks, correct? I think we
Correct.
should have 3 or 4 remaining.
I think I had 3.
3.
Yeah, and I think the first point that we want to mark is off a trestle trail.
Yep.
So people know that's the turn-in trail to go up
On the bowling property.
from the Bowden property. Yeah, the one.
Is there a distance that you can't use? I mean, I'm asking the question.
Well, I think what's
Someone
that
told me
section,
20 or 50 feet. I forgot which.
well, the railroad right away was.
But I
in
thought
some
DM
spots.
bought that also.
Right, so we need to
Okay.
talk to them
All right.
and probably get their just written permission to say, can we put the kiosk right at the fence line? It would make more sense that it's
Mhm.
up there
Mhm.
versus trying to find the edge of there right away and say, no, you gotta keep it, I think they, cooperating with them. They seem to be very interested at the point that some discussions when they were looking to do stuff with the building and everything. But I think when we get to that, we would wanna have it in right at the edge of the trail, right at the entrance, because there's a break in the fence
Where
there.
right.
Yeah.
You and I already picked a spot for it, remember?
Yeah, so,
Who's the outreach that we need to talk to? Is it
well, if it's,
Parks and Rec or DEM?
DM,
DEM.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Because when I walked that property with the Boy Scouts back in August, and we came to that end, they asked some of those questions, like where should we install the kiosk, right? If they were going to do that as part of an Eagle Scout project, so it'd be good to figure that out. And then the other idea on the far side going to the Nayland property is kind of like a jog in the fence, kind of like ATV deterrence, and that same jog or overlap in the fence doesn't exist on the Bowden side. So I don't know if we'd want to ask to have that added or improved to kind of
Keep
keep the ATVs out, or at least add another hindrance. I guess that's
Transporting it to there would be.
I think we had said maybe previously talking to Parks and Rec about getting access for like a ATV or a tractor or something to haul it out there.
Yeah, I think it falls under the DEM, right, that section.
That section.
Is it all DM out there?
Yeah, and Parks and Rec doesn't have any.
Six.
So I think there's 2 conversations. One is to get, permission to operate an ATV or something, or a tractor down there to bring it down. I mean, I took my tractor all the way from the other way down to just about to the end, so we could technically come the other way. It's still doable to bring it from Ledge Road and if we had to, but it'd be a lot easier just to get on and bring it up Trestle Trail. So I think the coordination with the DEM, getting permission to install it right there, so they know that it's there, and that, at the same time, getting permission when it comes that time, that we carefully, go up the trail.
So anyone want to take on that task of reaching out to the DEM, start that conversation?
I'll try and make some context there on that.
Run trouble.
Yeah.
There's a side effort to make there. Okay. Anywhere else you want to add kiosk? I think we're kiosk out. It's more just on updating the content, and then we'll need to wait on the map. I'd make another outreach effort to someone that I know that's kind of a GIS specialist to see if they could help with self-creation or working with me to create maps as well. So see if I can make progress there. Next up, I guess, is 8.4, general trail system discussion. So maintenance requirements. I don't know of any. I think everything looked pretty good. Didn't see any issues this past weekend. That was most of our trail network that we walked on. And it was great. I think this past weekend, seeing people who had joined us in June for some of the trail maintenance out in Bowdoin were back to hike again. So, kind of repeat customers, as it were.
The one thing that we will have to address in something later this fall is that slope coming down towards the parking area of Janice Sullivan. We did have some washout, even though the chips there, and the two tropical storm Henry and Henri, I guess, and the other storm that we had the remains of the, so we had two big heavy rains.
Yeah.
That we weren't, our wood chips weren't enough to slow down the water completely. So, and I had done some raking work, so it didn't look as bad as what it really was 2 days before the event. So we do need to put some baffles to slow the runoff on that steep section that last coming down into that parking lot, that last 50 or 100 feet is where we had the worst.
So you were talking about there's a special material you put down?
Yeah, I've done some work with the NRCS on some conservation, and they have requirements for trail maintenance, and one of the things for baffles, they have this, it's a heavy sort of rubber. I'm not quite sure what the material is that just goes in the ground. It's flexible enough that if you were to hit it with your foot or whatever, you're not going to get hurt, but it holds, and it only sticks up above the ground level just enough to catch the water and take it off to the side, and then it's doesn't rot like any lumber.
Right.
Good idea.
It's quite a long life material. I'll try and get some information on that and see what the cost of a couple pieces to install on the ground. I mean, we've done some on our property, so.
Yeah, there's some flooding concerns there, I guess, right? I'm sure there's a ton of water coming down that hill in the storm, and
Yeah, well,
we're
that's-
directing it to the side, right? It's going to turn into.
we have to just slow it down. The bigger
Yeah.
thing is when it's running, we just need to break it up so it slows it. We don't want to create a situation where we're making a main drain going down into the swamp, because then we'll be in trouble that way, but it's more just to have a little bit of slowdown.
Okay. So I guess it's figuring out how much to purchase, or looking at how to acquire.
Yeah,
those types
the
of
other
materials.
simple thing is we cut some, out of the dead trees that have fallen down, and you cut some 6-inch logs and just place them, and then put some spikes into them to hold them in place. Like, you've seen those on other trails and other places where that works as steps going up, sort of, and it holds the material back. So. But that is one maintenance issue that I think we will have to address to keep that stuff, because it's not, the wood chips started mixing in with the parking lot material and things, and it's.
Yeah. I have to figure out, that sounds like another work day with a little bit of prep work, whether it's the chainsaw or otherwise.
Yeah.
Chainsaw crew could be an adventure. All right. So chainsaw and trail maintenance, or trail development, I guess next up is Stella Hall, and talking about that cleanup time frame. Again, probably into the winter time frame, I would imagine. I know, Jack, you and Dennis had done some preliminary work or had ideas on where the trails would run over there. They're pretty well established, right?
It's a rough draft, just the first pass.
Was it marked in any way?
It's strictly all on paper.
Okay. You have a copy of that or something to share? Like I said, I
got-
live pretty close to Stella Hall, so I'd like to go maybe start poking around there.
I got the map we marked up in red, so I can make a copy of what I have, yeah.
And then, yeah, if you're able to email that over to me,
I
then
can
I can
send
try
you
to
an
go out
attachment,
and
yeah.
I'll use the GIS mapping, try to get like a tentative GIS trail to start working on. And then if anyone wants to come and kind of see how that GIS tool works out, I can maybe coordinate, like a hike day, a different day here in the near future. Kind of combine two into one there. It's talking Stella
Just
Hall
remember,
and GIS mapping.
it's a first time pass. Is this
Mhm.
what we thought made sense when we were walking the area?
And it took advantage of, the terrain.
The terrain, yep, yep.
Yeah, if you could send that out to me in email.
I'll make an
and then-
attachment. Yeah.
And we booked a couple dates here, but I'll try to find another date here to get out there and hike it, check it out. Is anyone interested in coming to learn or utilize the GIS tool? I don't know if anyone's downloaded it onto their phones or checked it out.
That intimidates.
Another technological challenge, right?
Yeah.
All right. I know I brought up this, the tick awareness signs at our last meeting. There's some cost associated with them. I don't know if anyone's got thoughts or ideas on wanting to spend money to get those, to add those into the kiosks as we get them built.
So is it a separate sign that stands on its own, or is it something that gets put in the kiosk?
I don't remember the size now. I want to say it was like just 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 10 kind of piece of plastic that could go inside one of the kiosks.
Okay.
It looked like it could be standalone, like it's sturdy enough material that it would stand up outside, but
Could we make one ourselves, like laminate it,
Yeah.
kind of like we did those
oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
things with GM? Yeah,
Yeah.
I can tackle that.
Yeah, we could make
Yep.
something
That's that.
much simpler and
Yep.
cheaper than
Okay.
theirs. I think the benefits to theirs is they kind of link to, this is again, another URI program where they're tracking ticking counters. So you can like submit a picture of the tick that you find, and then they'll put out a map tracking where they're observed and seen and provide advice on how to treat or maintain for them. So
We could,
Right.
like, I mean, we could put the website or even the QR code on the.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking, yeah.
I'll try my hand at that and we can look at it.
The next one I had is invasive plants abatement volunteers. And I think looking at the notes, Joyce, you had mentioned you might try to reach out to someone to
Well,
ask.
I
on that.
work with someone who just had a reaction pulling bittersweet. And she said she had done it before, but she was working with a native bittersweet, her doctor told her, and it's the Asian can be very irritating. So she was pulling Asian bittersweet. So it can be a problem for people. We have to think of our volunteers being exposed to something.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess is there a plan, or do we have an idea of where we would like to do kind of invasive plant?
I don't know that
Treatment or
we've
abatement?
seen any, have we? Seen any on
I
our
didn't
properties? I know where
notice
there are
any.
some in town,
Yeah.
near the Frank Sherman boat launch. I think it's Kuzo or that,
We talked about this. I think maybe we were talking
Flourishing.
about the bike path has some invasives. I know there's some Japanese
Not weed.
knotweed out by the bike path. And then I think there's Japanese barberry that I saw this past weekend out towards the end of the Bowden property, abutting kind of the bike path around the old
huh,
cellar hole that could probably use some treatment.
we might want to volunteer as land trust
Mm.
members for a group that's working beyond our,
Right.
our territory.
I think what we
Just-
need to do first then is just identifying. basically.
Identify, survey. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do a
DEM
survey
can,
and-
I've been to an event where they had a stand with all these various plants and,
So if we find an area that's problematic, then we can attack it. But
Yeah.
if we don't really have
Yeah.
too many, like the bike trail is not really ours, right? So,
Correct.
yeah, so if it's not on our land trust property, we may not have that issue.
right.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, maybe the Japanese barberry that's kind of, and maybe it's in that right of way zone between the bike path and the Bowden property. Maybe it's
Okay.
not something to be concerned about. But as we
Okay.
talk to DEM, I guess, on the kiosk project, we'll figure out where that line is and see if we want to take action.
Hmm.
Just spread over.
Yeah.
It'll be there eventually.
Yeah, I think the only spot that I've noticed is bad is there. And again, I know it's kind of a futile battle out in the woods to fight everything, but,
Right.
yeah, I guess, Joyce, you had mentioned that you would reach out to local conservation groups on invasive plants. I didn't know
I
if you had
can
any
speak to
updates
the
on that.
lady, see who she was working for or with, because she said I was the only one who showed up. So I really went, energetically without her socks. It was her lower legs, she didn't wear socks.
Yeah.
That might have helped her. So she was all red blotchy, around the
Oh.
ankles. So I can ask her who she was working for.
Yeah,
That
I
would be
know
a start.
this is external to Rhode Island, but there's a pretty big invasive plant removal effort, like in the New
Mhm.
York, New Jersey area. They have pretty good teams doing that work. And some of them are using dogs to like sniff out and identify.
Oh, wow.
Like the lantern
That's
fly, I
interesting.
think is right, a new
Yeah,
invasive
that's
pest, and a
an
couple of the other
invasive
ones. So there's cool stuff happening there. All right. The last item we had then was the Rhode Island Land Trust creature sign that we put up, installed, and got that out there. And then, I introduced all of the people that hiked out to the bike path, got a chance to see it and check it out. So I don't know if you guys have seen it in your travels across the Bowden property, but it is posted up out there. It's a yellow tulip little creature on the side of the trail, maybe halfway out on the yellow trail. So look for it, check it out. They put that up as part of their, what is it, Rhode Island Walks Challenge. Dennis, I think you kind of started on this project at the beginning of last year, the liaison for it. So finally installed, it's up, and hopefully it's drawing more people out to the Bowden property. Right, they're advertising it on their website. So. Any other questions, comments, concerns on general trail system? Continued expansion, good work. Anything we want to add for the October 19th agenda?
I don't know whether that applies to that, but you had sent out an email about some workshops.
Yes, that's right. Yes, so sorry, I know I sent that last minute yesterday. Hey, here's a rush to get registered. I received the information kind of last minute from the Land Trust
Okay.
Council. There's like the National Alliance Rally, and it's a series of online workshops. I think it's October 5th, 6th, and 7th at a free registration available. I got registered. I don't know if anyone else made an effort to reach out to Candace, but if you want to watch or see some of those sessions, we'll have access to them. There's a lot of good sessions. There's, pretty varied interest, property acquisition, land management, remote monitoring, right? Some of the things that we talk about here, birds and how to engage people, and then kind of history of spaces. So I sent the link. If there's any sessions that seem interesting to you, then maybe we can figure out some way to watch the recordings. They will be available.
So in other words, we don't have to register and we don't have to be there physically that weekend. We can
Correct.
watch
Yeah.
them. Okay.
But I would try to reach out to the Land Trust Council to see if you could still get your own registration. That's separate, but we have at least one registration for the
Okay.
Coventry Land Trust that will allow us access to some of the videos.
Was it 1 or 2?
I think it's 3 days.
No, I mean,
I'm sorry.
admission, I thought it was 2 free tickets, so to speak.
I only registered, I only sent in to say that I was interested. I don't know if anyone else
Oh,
had
okay.
responded.
It's supposed to
get
be
it.
free, up to 2 per,
Okay.
I believe. That's what I thought I understood.
But it's kind of weird too, because it's midweek. So again, depending on when people are working, right, it's like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So.
Trail monitors would be a good, easy way to involve volunteers, because all they have to do is walk, but at least somebody's out there walking the trails. And Audubon, I remember in one of their magazine issues, was working for certification with the Land Trust Alliance,
Okay.
the big standards bearer. We have a full pamphlet on them, and they had to monitor their properties, like 10,000 acres maybe.
Mm.
So they had to go at least once a year, walk each of their properties.
Okay.
It's pretty challenging. So, and it would, just give us some protection and reporting.
Yeah, I guess that'd be a good question, right? Do we think that we need more real-time or up-to-date information from our properties versus just our own wanderings on them?
Yes, how deeply you want to go in
Yeah.
accepting the higher standards, they were working at it. They probably gained it.
I'm thinking more like, what would the framework look like for how we would hear from trail monitors on what's going on or what we would want
Yeah.
to do.
That would be,
I like it, like, I like reasons or giving people reasons to go out and hike on
Right.
them and check them out, and more eyes out there looking for garbage or any other challenges is good, so.
Hmm.
Again, we'll get this continuing to expand our email list of people who
Mhm.
enjoy our property, so if we can inspire them to come and help us out.
Hmm.
right,
The only issue or other issue that I wanted to bring up is something topic of interest, and I guess it depends on the status of the appraisals, is how to maybe streamline that process or cut out some of the time in the future. And if it's worth our time and effort to bid out just for generalized appraisal services for a period of a year or two, versus having to go out and find appraisers for each individual property.
So you're talking about a fixed contract.
Some sort of contract or something, right? I think in line with contracting for video services, right? Like, is that something that we want to engage in or set up?
If we have to do appraisals for each property, I would think based on what we've been doing so far, a fixed contract wouldn't be bad.
Retain or something, yeah.
Yeah, just to hopefully streamline the process and not result in a lot of back and forth between getting enough bids and going through that bid process maybe just once on an annual basis versus on a
Right.
per property basis.
Now, would you go to one or two people that would show up based on contract requirements?
So we'll add that to the agenda to kind of talk about, and then I guess, John, I don't know if you'd be able to bring information, just, I know we've talked about like the specialty nature of what we're trying to look for in terms of
Right.
assessments, and then if that limits the number of people, how to make it go quicker. Give you less calls to make in the future, maybe. All right, any other issues or items we want to add for next month? Very good. Thank you very much. I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Second.
Edward, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, all opposed?